living water. All of you are my Savior. So you know if I ever needed you, I need you now. You're the start and you're the end. You complete what you begin. I bow down. I need you now. Oh, living water. All of you are my healer. So you know if I ever needed you, I need you now. Oh, living water. All of you are my Savior. So you know if I ever needed you, I need you now. Just like the desert needs a blessing of the rain, just like the winter waiting for the sun again, I need you now. Just like a river as it reaches for the sea, just like a song, it needs the sound of melody. I need you now. Oh, living water. All of you are my Savior. So you know if I ever needed you, I need you now. Oh, living water. Yes, you are my healer. So you know if I ever needed you, I need you now. I need you How do we explain? How do we describe a love that flows from east to west and runs as deep as it is wide? You know all our hopes. You know all our fears. Words cannot express we know to tell you what an awesome us you are. When words are not enough to tell you of our love, just listen to our hearts. Words could fall like rain from these lips of mine. If I had 1,000 years, I would still run out of time. So listen to my heart. Every beat will say, oh, thank you for the light, thank you for the truth, thank you for the way. So listen to my heart, hear our spirit sing a song of praise that flows from those who are redeemed. And we will use the words we know to tell you what an awesome love we are. When words are not enough to tell you of our love, listen to our hearts. And we will use the words we know to tell you what an awesome love we are. When words are not enough to tell you of our love, just listen to our hearts.
Amen.
Hey.
Good to be here this evening, and just watching everything for a couple of minutes. I see all the audio bouncing, so everything's working good. And it's good to be back. And we have been discussing a lot about the different ages that have passed us and the things that are happening and the things that we're into now and the moments. And I was the last couple nights studying through the night and just looking at things, and went through the internet a lot, went through a whole lot of astrology and astronomer, and because I know that at the end of the month, I think it's Jupiter and Mars, is it? They're coming closest they've been together in 300 some odd years. It's supposed to have a big effect. But anyway, I got to thinking about Brother Branham's comments. He talked a lot about the heavens and the zodiac, but he said, that they can have orbital shifts, can have a whole lot to do with what's going on in the earth. And whether you understand it or not, the universe is not just sitting out there. And every move that it makes, everything that happens, it's a spirit being that is moving it. And every move sends atmospheres, generations of something that wasn't in the earth that brings it about. Maybe something that was in the earth and needed corrected. An orbital shift will correct that. So many different things that happen. But anyway, Brother Branham was talking in, I think it's Faith is a Substance, maybe the very first recording. And he was talking and he said, it was 1946. And he said, 37 years ago, there was an orbital shift in the heavens, and it brought a healing spirit into the earth. So the orbital shift in the heavens released a healing spirit into the earth. The way that it shifted, the things that happened, I don't know what happened, but I know that if you take 37 years back from 1946 to 1909, and that's when William Branham was born, he knew an orbital shift had taken place in the heavens and brought that spirit into the earth. And so many times that happens. If you study at all, you'll understand that if you're studying about astronomy, that is not the zodiac. astronomy is all of the constellations and galaxies of the universe, and just stretches out and out and out, endless. And astronomers are stargazers. They just sit there and gaze and watch and wait for something to appear that's never been there before, so they can get their name famous and get their name on a star. You know, this star was so and so, because he's the one that discovered it, or she. But astrology, not astronomy, but astrology are those that study the constellations, the 88 constellations of the zodiac. And they study the zodiac, and they study how the orbital shifts move about the zodiac, and how each of the planets move in and out of the houses, and how it affects things. So I was into more of astrology than astronomy, and was looking at it quite a bit. And if you remember, some time back, I brought out the Aquarian Age. We started, I can't remember the date, but it was a few months ago. We started talking on it, and there's several in there where it talks about the Aquarian Age, the Aquarian shift, and all the things about the Aquarian's shadow or dark side. And I talked about Aquarian's dark side in there, maybe the first or the second one that we went through, and I said, you know, Aquarius is looked at as a age of love and all these kinds of things, but there is a dark side, is what I called it then. Now I would just say there is a part of Aquarius, that first few hundred years, that is just full of chaos, and it's full of shadows, and it's full of Piscean things that need to be superseded and resolved and absolved and done away with. And I talked about, if you remember, if you go back, if you don't remember, just go back and listen. I talked about how Saturn moves into Aquarius, and Saturn influences Aquarius. Saturn is in Aquarius for like 6 years total, right in the house of Aquarius during the upfront season of Aquarius, but its influences, a lot of astrologers say, are in depth out to 200 years out. The things that the shift of Saturn into the Aquarian house does. And I was reading through a lot of that, and reading through a lot of William Branham's things, and through a lot of the astrology and the different houses and things. And I thought, I told you then, back then, I started getting some different people writing me and saying, Brother Parnell, you know, we know that there's a shadow or there's a dark side to Aquarius, but you know, we're moving into a great day, we're moving into a bright day, and let's focus on that, and let's focus on that. And I can see that talking about the wholeness of Aquarius, you know, we can just talk about all the bright side, but talking about the wholeness of Aquarius bothered some people, because it's not a pretty situation, especially in the beginning. Aquarius, maybe if I just said it a way where you understand it, Aquarius is born an ugly baby. Now it gets prettier as it goes along. But it's born
in the 60s.
it's born an ugly baby. But you know, I told some guys in the corporation one time, we were going into this plant, and they said, we've looked at these things that they set up in this plant, and these systems and these plans, they're just stupid, and we just need to go out there and we need to shut these things down, and we need to put our own plan in, we need to do this and that. And I said, guys, let me tell you something. The people who created these plans that you're calling stupid and everything else, they work there. They're managers, and they are CEOs and everything else in that plant. And those systems are like their baby. I said, you go in there and start saying their baby's ugly, you're not going to get too far. You know how a mom feels? You take the baby in your arms and say, whoo, look at that ugly thing. That wouldn't work out too good. So I said, when you go in there, we ain't talking about their systems. We're not going to cut their systems down. We're going in there talking about how we can enhance and make better and make things look better, and we did that. That's the way I always approach things. But Aquarian starts out an ugly baby. And because of that, many people don't want to talk about Aquarius a little bit. I wanted to take some time and talk about Saturn in Aquarius, because it's a huge influence. And so we know that Uranus is the planet that rules Aquarius, but Saturn has some very strong influences on Aquarius, and especially while it's in the house of Aquarius. So first I want to say that I was born in Aquarius, and I happened to be born in Aquarius during the time that Saturn was in Aquarius. It was in Aquarius for about 3 years, 1951 to 1954, almost 55, and I was born then. But the sun wasn't in Aquarius then, okay? And what exacerbates and really pushes all of the attributes and all of the things about Aquarius, what really pushes it out is now the sun is in Aquarius. And with the sun in Aquarius and then Saturn moving into Aquarius, it's really strong vibrations that are taking Aquarius, the nation, the world, the age, the dispensation. It's taking it in a direction that is not the best direction to go for a while. So anyone with Saturn in Aquarius is ahead of their time by at least 2 generations. You are a channel of new energy if you were born with Saturn in Aquarius. You're a channel of new energy for energy to move into the earth, sometimes literally. But your energy is blocked until you understand how to use the power in a clean, pure way. So even though you're born, those of you that maybe you were born in those years where Saturn was in Aquarius, you have a lot of great power to bring things about, but until you understand these things, you really just don't know it. And it says your energy is blocked until you understand how to use the power clean and pure. This may come to you as part of your Saturn return. So Saturn stays in Aquarius for about 3.5 years. It leaves Aquarius and it circles and returns back. It has a return ministry and gives it about 6.5 to 7 years total. And early in life you may have felt different if you're a person that was born then, and just kind of chaffed at the differences, just looked at the difference and said, wow, I'm different than them, or I know I'm different, but I'm trying to fit in. At first, until the age of 40, it seems to work against you. You are a stranger in a strange land, and I know what it's saying. Everywhere I went and everything I did and everything I tried. And you feel like you're so different that your whole life is in an act, like it's not reality. An attempt to fit in and be like everybody else happens for that first 40 years or so. And I know that's true. You want the traditional and you want the normal, but you know that you're not traditional and you're not normal. But eventually you begin to see that you have a different take on things, that your differences actually gives you a fresh perspective. And when the whole traditional side is beginning to tire out and wane out, you have a lot of beneficial insights if you're willing to stand up and use them, which is what I have been doing for the last 10 years or so. As you begin to trust that, you realize that this different viewpoint, which I'd done my very best to just be message, and something inside of me wasn't going to let me. It just wasn't. And for this last 10 years, I just broke out of it, had a lot of different viewpoints, and you know that it is It's breaking for you. It quickens. And when you bring out the viewpoints, you're thinking you're going to get into trouble. You're thinking what you're saying nobody's going to believe. Millennium, new heaven, new earth. The whole concept of this being the literal body of Jesus, the oneness. There's no God. There's no devil. You start breaking into those, and you're thinking, this nobody's going to believe this. I'm going to go ahead and say it. But you find that it quickens others. Mm-hmm. And when you find out that it's quickening others, you're able to point them to higher truths, which awakens them. And sometimes the awakening is not pleasant. It's like a cold shower. You just kind of, And so sometimes it's not a pleasant thing to awaken, but you're awakening. Then one day you remember, and you start to notice what your mission is. You notice the differences. You notice the viewpoints. You notice where you're taking things. You notice how it's quickening people. And you begin to understand what you're here for, which is what has happened to me over the last 10, 12 years. Saturn is the planet influencing. Saturn enters Aquarius. Now, I want to read through this just a little bit. I wrote some of the things down, or I copied and pasted some things, and then I wrote some things that I saw along the way. But Saturn is the planet influencing old boundaries and commitments that are superseded and need to be removed. But Saturn influences them. Saturn kind of makes you hold on to those things when they need to be gone. And so Saturn influences old boundaries and commitments that are superseded and needs to be removed, dissolved, and absolved, done away with. The planet of boundaries and commitment, Saturn, enters the house of Aquarius, bringing 2020 its biggest energy shift. It's this year right here. Saturn enters Aquarius on Saturday, March the 21st, 2020. So that's been last March 21st, 2020. On a Saturday, Saturn moves into Aquarius, where it will remain until March the 7th, 2023. So it remains there about 3 years. Its entrance and transit through Aquarius reflects the significance of information in our technology-oriented world and how it can divide us or unite us. Now take a look at technology and all the things that we are using and all the things that we're doing and all the internet and all of the social media and then all of the news media and then all of the corporate media and then all of the social medias like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Parler, and you just keep going and going and going, and you start looking at all this, and Saturn comes in right at the time that all this is really beginning to pour out, and Saturn has a great influence on and has a great reflection on the significance of all this information. And Saturn brings a orbital shift into the Earth that causes a partisan, if you want to call it that, it causes a divide, it causes a polar shift. And we're polarized. Half of the world is sitting over here and the other half is sitting over here. And we say it ought to be this way and this way and this way, and we say it ought to be this way and this way and this way. And there's a huge polar shift that happens, and Saturn in Aquarius, which just happened this year, is the thing that's making that polarized feeling come out so strong. Notice that it's here until March the 7th, 2023. Now, Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn is the dark side. That's what I called it back some months ago. It's the shadow. It's the influence that maybe takes you down a path you don't want to go. Saturn in Aquarius will find us taking our future much more seriously because of the division. So Saturn, the orbital shift, brings in the division, polarizes the world, and then it brings its strong influence into recognizing and realizing what differences are and what needs to be exposed about the polarization. Things that were hidden that need to come out. Things that's what Saturn is all about. It is bringing about a lot of the apocalypse, or the exposing, or the opening, the internet, the information, all of these things. Saturn is doing it. Remember, I told you the universe and these planets and stars and everything else, they are being shifted about by a being. It is a spirit, our spirit, that is moving them about, and every move that is made shifts the atmospheres, shifts things that are happening in the earth, everything. So Saturn is the planet. Saturn in Aquarius will find us taking our future more seriously due to the divisions. Aquarius is the sign of the collective body. So Aquarius recognizes collective bodies. Aquarius is a neutrality when it comes to what those collective bodies believe. But Aquarius brings about the recognition of collective bodies, or special privileges. This body over here says we deserve this. We've been treated bad. This body over here says you don't deserve that. We earned everything we got. This body over here says we got to have law and order and all this. This body over here says no, we don't have to have law and order. What we need to do is stop law and order. And you've got all these bodies and groups and causes, and they're all shifting about, and they're bringing all this polarization. And Saturn is the one that is bringing all of that about. And so the combination can manifest as commitments to your spirituality, to your oneness, to your balance, and other networks that strengthen you, and your commitments to one another. But the issue is the walls that we build through this orbital shift. We build walls. And that's not what Aquarius is about. So it's causing a real conflict, because we're taking on the sun of Aquarius. We're taking on the very nature of Aquarius, which is to love, is to move forward, is to care, is to show our empathy. And then we have this very, very strong upfront polarization coming from Saturn, and we're building great walls, and inside those walls, whoever's in there, we get along very well. But we don't get along so well with the people over here in these walls, or the people over here in these walls. And so it's caused some real conflicts. The dark side of Aquarius, that don't get too upset about me talking about it. There's more and more here. But I just want to bring it out to help you realize that all of a sudden everybody's saying, what's going on? This one's falling and that one's falling, and these politics are falling aside, and we thought this was going to take place and that was going to take place. Just take it easy. Saturn is doing his work. While Saturn was in the earth sign, Capricorn, which was just prior to coming into Aquarius, while Saturn was in the earth sign Capricorn, it recognized the limits of material resources. It recognized Saturn in the air sign Aquarius finds the collective body of humanity. So when it was in Capricorn, it was looking at all of the materials and resources and everything that was available It brought that atmosphere into the earth, which is just in the last 4 to 5 years. And then it turns around and defocuses its feeling and atmosphere on all that material sources and everything, and it zeroes in on humanity, and it zeroes in on humanity's feelings, and humanity's ideas, and humanity's thoughts, and humanity's anger, and humanity's jealousy, and all the things about humanity. Saturn begins to put a spotlight on it. And all of a sudden, we'll talk about it in a minute, all these special groups start showing up. Because Saturn put the spotlight on humanity, and that was laying in a group of people in humanity. So they created it. No matter what it is, whether it's a stronger Republican Party or a more more democracy-related Democratic Party, or Antifa, or BLM, or whatever you want to look at, Saturn is influencing the inner person now, and it's bringing out how you feel, the things that you believe, the things that you think are good about this world, and the things that you think are bad about this world. And then when enough of you in your polarized feelings get together, you form a special privileged group. We are so-and-so, we're Native American, and we are owed reparations for the way that you've treated us and the way we're living in the reservations today. And we're black, and the way you hung us, and the way you killed us, and the way you slaved us, and the way you done these things, we're owed. And then the Irish say we're owed, and this, and all this is happening because Saturn shifted, and all at once, all of these feelings started coming out of people. I'm not saying they're good feelings or bad feelings. I'm Aquarius. I'm neutrality. I'm just showing you what's in people. And so that's what Aquarius does. It doesn't choose a special group. Aquarius just has that influence and brings everything out that's in people. While Saturn was in Capricorn, it recognized the limits of material resources and all the different things. Then in Aquarius, it finds the collective body of humanity and begins to bring that up. People and social groups to be more an important resource than materials and resources and all these things. Saturn in Capricorn, the Piscean age. Saturn came out of the Piscean age. Saturn in Capricorn, the Piscean age, found us looking to the past for clues about our history, establishing hierarchy. When it was coming up through all the church ages, it was looking at all the historical clues and everything, and it was establishing patterns, and it was bringing us up through that time period, establishing hierarchies and rules and regulatory commitments. And we got all of these resources all established all across the world, governments and churches and homes and corporations, and we got all of it established, and the light was on resources and the materials that we had and the things that we could do. And then the shift out of Capricorn into Aquarius, and Saturn put all of his influence on the human being in Aquarius, on you and me. And all of a sudden, we said, yeah, governments are good, but that's not what motivates me. Corporations are great, jobs are great, this is great, and that's great. Everything's great. All the stuff we produce, all these materials and resources, man, it's great, but it doesn't do anything for my growth, my inner being, my spirituality. And Saturn shifts the spotlight from outside to inside and begins to bring out all those inner things that's laying inside you. Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn in Capricorn put a spotlight on all the materials and resources. Now listen, Saturn in Aquarius knows all the rules so they can break them. That's all. They know all the rules, and they say, I'm going to break it. I'm going to break it. I don't care what the government said. I don't care what the corporation said. I don't care what mom and dad said. I don't care what Saturn knows all the rules so it can break them and update them and move the world and move humanity into a greater place. Saturn's time in Aquarius will offer many fresh perspectives and avenues for making the changes that need to be implemented. Don't get me wrong, Saturn is a fundamentalist type influence, but it won't come without a lot of disruption to the current status quo, because Aquarius knows it can move into better things. The Aquarius shift knows that. As soon as Saturn ingressed, or as I told you before, everything moves backwards. Saturn comes in on the backside of Aquarius and moves forward. And as Saturn ingresses into Aquarius on March 21st, it became square to Uranus. Square meaning that's the very toughest angle. When a husband and wife are at one another's throats to the core, and it comes to a point that there's no balance and no way out, and they are just like two tigers right on one another. That's square. That is square. And Saturn and Aquarius come to square in the zodiac. They come to square, and when they do, it brings so much polarization. It brings so much anger and hurt. It's bringing out all the influence, and it's doing it for a reason. The Holy Spirit, our spirit, the spirit moving the earth and moving the universe, doesn't just do this. It does it for a reason. These feelings have been in people for generations and generations and generations. And this is the time of exposure to bring these things out. Now, when they go square, that's when we begin to feel less stability. We begin to get unsure. We hear all the arguments over here, and we hear all the arguments over here, and they don't sound all too bad, but something in me says, I got to stand right here. I can't reform. I can't go that way. I got too many people that believe in me, so I can't change the way I believe. I can't change the way I feel. I got to act this way whether I really want to or not. We got all kinds of things going on in our heads because of that square. That's when we begin to feel less stability. Uranus is in Taurus right now. You know what Uranus is? Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius. So Saturn moves into Aquarius, very tough, fundamental, just rigid, and Uranus moves into Taurus. Ask Rick Hall what a Taurus is like. A Taurus is very inward. They hold everything in. They will hold. It's like a bull in a china can. That's why the bull is the Taurus. They hold everything in there, and they don't want anybody to know how they feel, and they hold it and they hold it and hold it until they finally explode. And then you don't want to be around the guy or the woman when it comes to that. But Uranus goes into Taurus, so Uranus is holding back all of its force. It's in Taurus, and it's holding back all of its force of all those great ideas, that great spontaneity, that beautiful place that Aquarius is going, that all that excitement, all that new ideas, new inventions, new this and new that, all of a sudden in 2020 it comes to a grinding halt. And Uranus goes into Taurus and is almost like a kid in a battle, sitting back in a corner, in a closet somewhere, and just thinking to himself, phlegmatic, I'll sit here and wait till it's over. And that's what Uranus is doing right now. Uranus goes into Taurus, causes the Aquarian shift to hold its desires within, and it moves out of Taurus in October of 2024. So we're looking at a 4-year period where all of these Aquarian things that we're thinking about and where we ought to be going might be put on pause. Uranus just moved in there, and it's kind of shrinking back, and it's waiting, and it doesn't want to go through the battle with Saturn, all the fundamentalists, and all the establishments, and all the governments, and all the corporations, and all the medias, and the social medias, and everything else. It just kind of, Uranus withdraws itself and sets in pause, if you want to call it that. We might be seeing that happening right in front of our eyes. I don't know. Let's watch and see. But Uranus goes into that inward move, and Aquarian, the whole Aquarian shift kind of goes into a pause for a little while. Think about it. March, the pandemic. March, the big politics and all the rallying and the campaigning. March, the whole climate scene began to change, and all the typhoons, and Philippines is still being crunched by them, and all the hurricanes coming across the United States, more than we've ever seen, and all these things are happening. 2020 almost came to a screeching halt in all of the great economy, the great excitement of new generation moving into new things, and all this climate, pandemic, and politics is taking it down. And Uranus being in Taurus, it just don't want to face up to the issue. It's set up like that in the heavens. What's this pause for? Why has it come about? I have said it doesn't matter to me who stands in leadership around the world or how they get there. Doesn't matter at all to me. I know the spirit, the shift, everything is happening, puts the men and women in the right positions. That's the way it has been. That's the way all the prophets seen it. And I don't believe there's two spirits, and one spirit wins and the other spirit loses. I just don't believe any of that. There's one spirit putting everything in its place and moving it about to gain and bring out all the things that need to be brought out and exposed, whether it is good, bad, or ugly. It needs to bring it all out. So, I know the Spirit puts them there. The universe is a living being. It is our spirit moving the universe about. A spirit that moves and shifts influences to bring the needed world. The earth is the body of the Spirit. And the Spirit moves about in the earth and universe to accomplish its good pleasure, to bring these things about. And it's happening all around us. Don't let your eyes fail you due to attachments. I get attached to things, and it normally gets ripped right out from me. Just don't get attached. Know that your spirit is shifting everything as a collective body. We are making the moves that are being made. Saturn makes a 3-year retro journey, comes back around through Aquarius to establish some Capricorn boundaries and commitments, because we're headed to Capricorn, within an otherwise chaotic beginning. Look at Aquarius' beginning. What a chaotic beginning it has been. Just unbelievable. And so Saturn makes a return trip around, which is the trip that it's making right now, and goes through Aquarius to establish some Capricorn boundaries and commitments within an otherwise chaotic beginning. The issue is that Aquarius and Uranus have already superseded a lot of these commitments and boundaries and influence that got set in the Piscean age. There is a social upheaval that's going on all around you. Remember I talked about mass movement? And I talked about how millions and millions and millions of theophanies would drop into the earth just to make a mass movement in one direction. And that's what we're watching all around us. And so we see this. There is a social upheaval, a collusion, division between those of commitment, stay right here, and those of change. There's a real collusion. There's a huge division. There's a polarization going on. And it is all out war. All out war. For a stretch, don't get too upset about this, for a stretch of about 200 years. Now you say, man, that's a long time. Yeah, that's as long as the United States has been in existence. There's a stretch going to go through the Aquarian house of Saturn's influence coming out there, and war between commitments to old Piscean ways and a change into the new day. Well, just look at the war in the message when we came to this. When we came to this understanding. Look at the war in the message and how down you are looked upon for the things that you are bringing out today. Aquarius is a humanitarian age. Its influences are towards freedom, liberty, equality for all, for humanity. The age seeks a level playing field. At the dawning of Aquarius, the shift is made. The world of Pisces was appraised. We looked back across the world of Pisces, and we appraised it. It was examined by the intelligence, the smartest sign in the universe. Aquarius looked back across and examined it. Its knowledge and cognitive power was used as we look back through it and seen every little move. And the smartest sign of the zodiac looked across it all. We found it to be sorely lacking in equality and freedom, and full of rules and regulations, and full of envy and strife and jealousy and every evil work. And the prophet said it ended up in total darkness. Thus, the upheaval begins. Aquarius, the spotlight leaves all of those big things, material things, moves to the inner being, turns inward and starts looking. According to Pisces, the church age dispensation, civilized society is defined by religious faith, blind beliefs, special privileges, monarchy, autocracy, servitude, discrimination, inequality, emotion, surmise, sentiments, special privileges. It's full of it. That whole church age system was full of it. Aquarius has a different attitude. It takes a different look at things. Civilized society is defined by evidence on fact-based things. We want to know the truth. We want to see the evidence. We want to be able to feel good on the inside about the things we believe. We turn to science, equal opportunity, democracy, democratic rights, care for humanity, gender equality, fairness, intellect, knowledge, spirituality. We turn to the things that matter right in here. That's where we turn to in Aquarius. And we start dropping all those things we thought were so important, and all the hierarchies that we set up, we begin to drop them all. So as humanity transitioned from Pisces to Aquarius, it was inevitable that these conflicting ideologies, world cause and would cause widespread division, polarization, disputation, culture wars. You see it. It's all around us. I'm not sitting here. I told you, I'm an Aquarian. And Aquarius, the spirit of Aquarius is just, it holds neutrality. I see a lot of things about these culture wars. I feel the same way they do, or they do, or they do. And then I have my feelings. I understand it all. But it's happening all around us. And now what do? These culture wars, psychic stress just building up, suicides gaining ground, governments falling apart, corporations shutting down, businesses shutting down. Aquarius signaled a big knowledge shift. A huge knowledge shift came about. And educated people prefer to think rather than believe. It's just that clear. Educated people prefer to think rather than believe. I'm not going to believe what you tell me until I think about it and sort it through, and I look at everything and I say, that has some fact-based evidence in it. I can believe that. But we don't just go on a whim of I believe anymore. We just don't do it. You don't do it. I don't do it. It doesn't happen. Aquarius signaled a big knowledge shift, and educated people prefer to think, not believe. They have less need to believe. They want facts, not beliefs, not fictions, not fairy tales. Look at all the fairy tales that we came out of about religion over the last 10 years. You know why? Because you have shifted into the Aquarian spirit, into the Aquarian age, into the Christ of today, and you begin to say, give me some faith-based evidence. Give me some true facts about these things. And when you begin to look at the logic of it, nothing fit. Nothing fit. It was like a hair in the pie. It wasn't good, and you started throwing everything out. They want facts, no beliefs, and fictions. But the deeply held Piscean age of religious beliefs proved to be a pretty formidable barrier. I mean, they raised up and honestly, they made us look pretty bad for a long time. With all of their religion and all of their governmental ways and everything else, it took on the Aquarian spirit and really polarized things. We seen religious traditions from the Piscean age that wouldn't budge. And then developments took a turn when science usurped authority and veered towards the aggressive, fact-based ideas. And we were all sitting back for years and years and years and generations calling science of the devil, and all of a sudden science made more sense than religion did. We ran around for years following our beliefs on religion, and science came to so many fact-based things that we began to turn our spirit, and the Aquarian shift made us do it. We shifted and we said, you know what, science is a good thing. Because science does make us a little more level-headed in our beliefs and in our understanding. And so this is why these things are happening, because it's carrying you through the shift, making you feel and experience the detail of why you're going there. So we see science usurped authority, veered towards the aggressive fact-based ideas. Spirituality is realizing now that science is a great part. Whereas before we said, oh, don't pay no attention to that. That's of the devil. We know better. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn for these first few years, and Uranus is its ruling planet. And their natures express diametrically opposite worldviews. Saturn is the planet of orthodoxy and tradition, and it is cold, it is selfish, it is conservative, it's fearful of change. Saturn holds all that in it, and it embeds it right into the Aquarian age. And Uranus, the real true Aquarian spirit, Uranus is the planet of ultra-progressive, spiritual, and science thinking combined. It's original. It doesn't want all these add-ons and everything else. It's inventive. And it's an advocate of change and reform. It wants to come out of all those material things that we set up as proof of our success. It wants to get away from it. It wants to move away from it. And the upheaval and the turmoil forecast by their radically different worldviews has arrived. It's all around us. Just take a good look at everything that's happening. The conflict you feel over politics, the deep conflict you feel over religion and spirituality, over all the doctrines, over all these things, the conflicts you feel about the pandemic. You got half of the world saying, nothing's happening here. You got half of the world saying people are dying everywhere and you need to wake up and we need to pay attention. And it's just polarized everywhere, and it's the feelings. It's not any of the material sources that are causing that. It's our feelings. Mm-hmm. Our inner feelings are bringing all of this out because the spotlight is on the inner human being right now, and it's bringing all of it out. Radically different worldviews has arrived, just as expected. Uranus is lingering in Taurus and holding its superseded ideas within. And its influences it's got on the pause. It has hit the pause button. And you say, Brother Parnell, what in the world happened? Just in the since March. You just got to step back and say, Jesus, what in the world has happened? Look at all of these things across the entire world. The United States is not the only one in uproar. They're rioting all across the world. They're, on and on and on, rioting against law, rioting against rules, rioting against governments. It's going on everywhere, the way they're being treated. The spotlight, the Aquarian shift took place, and Saturn came in and threw the spotlight right onto the inner being, the inner human feeling. And now we're all just a little bit mad about everything that's going on, a little bit angry about the way everyone is being treated, a little bit angry about us not being heard. Who can I write? Who can I call? The best thing for you to do if you feel that way is just go in your room, bury your head in your pillow, and just start screaming to the top of your lungs and stay there until you feel a little better. Because nobody out there is much going to listen. It's all about money. It's all about government. It's all about who you're going to side up with. Who are you with? Where's your money going? Aren't you going to support it? It's all it's about. The dark side of Aquarius, the 200 years influence of Saturn. Uranus has a reform agenda. But remember, Uranus doesn't come out of Taurus till October of 24. So we're going to watch 4 years of, please get us through this. And I'm not talking about one party. I'm talking about the whole world. It's all around us. Uranus has a reform agenda. It has progressive values and a preference for the new and unusual. Its vibration is original, independent, rebellious, and tense. It transmits high frequency, astral radiations, and many people are having difficulty adjusting to these high nervous tensions. The shift of Uranus into Taurus has brought all this inside anger, stress, not knowing what to do, not knowing who to turn to, not knowing on and on and on. It's just the shift of Uranus into Taurus has brought all this on. Its values are freedom, liberty, democracy, invention, ingenious gadgets, amazing devices. I wrote all these things down. And innovative change. Technology is the centerpiece of the Uranus evolution. But now we're all mad and upset because we're seeing where technology is causing a whole lot of all of this stress. Mm-hmm. Through the internet, through the social media, through the suppressing of what one group believes and what another one believes, through the software that's being used. And we're just ready to, out here in the world, they're just ready to destroy one another. It's such a stressful thing. Saturn and Uranus represent different pathways, and they are both in Aquarius. Saturn and Uranus represent different pathways that humanity can travel into the future. We're here. It is our place as leadership to merge this duality. Saturn and Uranus are here. You and I cannot make that change, but what we can do is take this polarization and with our understanding not get so frustrated, not get so attached, stay neutral, and just hold your vibration to where you begin to make it merge and bring it back together again to where people's feelings and understanding and their love for one another is much greater than some wall that got built. And that's where we need to head to. We are here. It is our place as leadership to merge this duality into one path, to enjoin the influences and bring acceptance to the age. Because right now, nobody wants to accept. Nobody wants to accept the way this person and all of their group feels, the way this organization and all of their group feels, the way this special privileged bunch over here feels. Nobody. We even put tags on them. We put a label on them, so as soon as you look at them, you say, yeah, I know what they are. No. We need to come to a neutrality, and we need to ourselves take a look at everything that's happening and hold our vibration and our spirit in a vibration of love and care and neutrality and holding to one another. Saturn's path is defined by fundamental rear vision thinking. Saturn is looking through the rear view mirror, turning around and looking back. The best days are back there, and we got to hold on to it. And Saturn is doing that. Uranus represents different pathways too. Saturn's path is defined by fundamental rear vision thinking and self-interest. You know what self-interests are. You got all those groups out here. All have a self-interest. It leads to materialism, selfishness, and mental torment. Just look. Just look around you. Look at every big city in America. Look at all the other nations. Look at the mental torment that is taking place in people's lives. Uranus has a path that is defined by progressive, forward-thinking, altruistic human endeavors. Its road leads to occult insight. And occults are not bad. I'm not talking about, all these terrible things that you read about out here. I'm talking about people that through culture come together and love one another and begin to mix our culture so we understand one another. Occult insight, we begin to understand one another. Social equality and self-enlightenment. This is Uranus. This is where we're at. We are there. The rest of the world is waning far behind. But we've come to this. We need to hold this dear in our hearts. The peace that we have setting in the middle of so much that's going on. We are bringing science and spirituality together, and its influence and its desires. Pisces gave you heaven and hell with cramping religious orthodoxy, hierarchies. But Aquarius reckons that unsubstantiated beliefs must be erased by evidence-based knowledge. Take all of those things and let's tear them down, and let's go back to a level playing field, and let's stop playing around with materialistic resources, and let's turn our minds inward, and let's go where the spotlight is on human beings, and let's work on the inside of us. That's what Uranus says to do. During the Piscean Aquarius transition phase, Saturn and Uranus provided bewildering biological information. All the norms began to fall apart. Vertical hierarchies were torn down and horizontal began to show up. Level playing fields began to emerge. They rewrote the book of life within the Aquarian shift. We've rewrote what a theophany is. We've rewrote what heaven is. We've rewrote what hell is. We've rewrote the book of life. We've rewrote all these things. And in writing those things and doing those things, it's bringing us to a greater understanding. And in rewriting it, this whole book of life, it has brought out the contrast. We see over here and we say, man, look at where we were at some time ago. And now look at where we're at. Well, you need to understand that about 90% of the world is still back here where we came from. And if we don't hold our vibration and our love and our pathway of where we've come to, if we don't hold the core of that and stay there and continue to let it grow and grow and grow like a nucleus and just keep growing and growing, it's going to be very easy to not go anywhere with all that still lingering around us. Pisces gives you the heaven and the hell. Aquarius erases all the old beliefs and systems through evidence-based facts. During the Piscean Aquarius transition, Saturn and Uranus provided bewildering biological information. All the norms began to fall apart. Vertical hierarchies began to be torn down. Horizontal and level playing fields began to merge. They rewrote the book of life with their contrasts. Now we bring to the world the Lamb's book of life, in which we live and become one. Okay, we rewrote the book. Now let's all come into this together. The Lamb's book of life is the life of overcoming. What are we going to overcome? All those old systems, all those old ways. We are going to supersede those. And in order to do that, we must come out of that old book of life, rewrite it, and then step out as a lamb willing to sacrifice and overcome and work and do the things that we're supposed to do. Now we bring to the world the Lamb's book of life in which we live and we become one. God and demons were deleted. Do you know where any of them's at? I don't know where he's at. We're in an age we deleted gods and demons. Now come on. You just think about that. We deleted gods and demons. DNA. You say, oh, we got this disease, we got that disease, we come up through this ancestry, our DNA says we're this and that, and we deleted it all. We said, we're a brand new creation. None of that DNA affects me. I'm totally new. I don't care that my parents carried this and this and this down through their ages, and they followed after that DNA. I rewrote the book of life. I came out as the Lamb's book, and I got rid of all those gods and demons and everything else, and I rewrote my DNA. I rewrote myself to be who I need to be in the age and the day. The DNA, the thinking machines, that with enough fear, knowledge, and technology can work out how you can take control of your evolution and scientifically create eternal life physically. You know, we're going to do that one day. You think we're just going to say, poof, wow, we're back to eternal life. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. Humanity, through its spirituality and its science and its understanding and its work in the earth, is going to come about to where it creates physical bodies that are eternal. I don't believe that, Brother Parnell. Well, that's okay. Continue on with your Piscean way. The facts of the Scripture, the facts of the prophets, the facts of what's going on today, as far as we have moved in DNA, as far as we have moved in recreation and everything else, I'm telling you, we are going to come to that point. It might be 1,000 years from now, it might be 2,000, it might be 4,000, but we are going to come to that point. The facts of life have been limited to physical life and the material plane. That's all we've done. We are bringing the spiritual life now into the physical realm of facts and making them one. One person wrote me, I was reading it, he said, a brother wrote and said, where is Jesus today? And different ones saying, well, he's the Spirit in us and he's this and that. And I wrote in and I said, we are the physical body, the literal body of Jesus today. And a guy writes back and says, oh, no. The literal body of Jesus died on Calvary or was killed, and now his spirit is back here, and we are the spiritual body. We're not. I said, oh, I'm not quite understanding. I said, are you saying that we're just 50% Jesus? Or, we have half of him, but we don't have the other half? He put his body that died on Calvary back in the cosmos. And he got into our bodies. And he is us. It's not a different being. It's us. We were in him. Died in that body, resurrected in that body, got out of that body, and got into humanity. And it's us. We're 100% the literal return body of Christ in the earth. But we've limited things. But now we're bringing spiritual life into physical realm of facts and making them one. We hold the gods and demons within us, and we will reconcile the world to one and dissolve them. There's nothing else left to do. They're going away. They're disappearing. And if Saturn's philosophy of atheistic materialism is widely accepted, which it is, it will breed a civilization that is distinguished. If atheism is widely accepted, I'll tell you now, I'm more of an atheist than I am a denominational man. If atheism is widely accepted, it will breed
a distinguished generation of ruthless, harshness, hate, callous disregard, self-centeredness, and selfishness. That's what's going to form unless we do something about it. Unless we can take this atheism and take this science and take all these faith-based facts and take all this religion and we merge it together and make it one. And we bring it together as one Spirit, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one hope of our calling. Unless we do that, there is a duality that's going to form out there, and it is going to be ruthless. It is going to be selfish. It is going to want to destroy everything. It'll be harshness, hate, callous disregard, self-centeredness, and selfishness. We must unite Uranus and merge as one in these next 200 years. 200 years is going to form a path. What path is it going to be? I believe we're going to hold our place and continue to move in the spotlight of the Spirit and understand who we are and bring the vibration of the rest of the world over into a greater, more loving, more empathetic, understanding, doing the things that we need to do one for another. In the hands of the materialistic atheists, the science of the Aquarian age is the means to acquiring a new and greater implementation of destruction. And that's what they'll do if we allow it. Did you know, and I looked it up, there are 18 nations in the world now that hold nuclear power, that have nuclear bombs awaiting. 18 nations. Did you know that less than 20 years ago there were 3? Saturn is moving a pathway of destruction. And you and I, you know what they used to say about the president? He's the only one standing between socialism and us, capitalism. He's the only one standing between. Well, let me tell you, we are the only ones standing between this ruthless destruction by Saturn. And we have to hold our own, hold our love, hold our peace, hold our long suffering, hold our understanding, hold these things in our heart, continue to move forward, keep moving right through all of these things from oneness to all the complete understanding, no sin, no blemish, world is perfect. We're going to stand in this world as clean, as holy, as pure. These people just don't know what they're doing. They're living under a blind state, and it's our position to awaken and bring all these things about and bring a greater day. We must understand this and bring the heart of Uranus to one with the mind of Saturn. Bring the heart of Uranus with the mind of Saturn. We're doing this within our nucleus, and our vibration will succeed. Aquarius forecast will come, but its knowledge and altruism expresses through humans who are primarily driven by self-interest, listen, competition and personal power. So you got all of this material source, and then you got a group of humanity that is driven by self-interest, competition, personal power, conscious, selfish impulses, not intelligence, drives these people and their agenda. This is where our influence and the spiritual leadership will prevail as the air sign and bring the needed influence of the intelligence into the earth, and it's doing it right now. And you say, who are these people? You just need to go look. Just take a look at all of the multi-billionaires and trillionaires and millionaires who are just driving all this with their self-interest, their self-gain, their very consciousness of destruction, so that they can gain on that destruction and gain more and more power and more wealth. And it's all around us. You can see it. Doesn't take long to see it. Aquarius demands freedom and equality, but those in change of the show are more inclined to use their cunning shrewdness, to feather their own nest, to exploit their vulnerability, exploit our vulnerability, and manipulate the less smart. Humanity takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back because of these guys in the earth. There's many of them. I can start naming them off. You know who they are. If you've studied it all and you understand wealth and you understand power, they're out there in the front end of this Aquarian age. I see roadblocks erected by special privilege groups, obstructing progress for some period of time as these richer manipulate those people, those special groups. Look at what is happening in the present and remember that we have already come to understand barriers are torn down and new ones get constructed as fast as we tear the barriers down. But take heart. It's the Aquarian age, and the sun is in Aquarius, and we are going to overcome. It's an ongoing battle between the progressive forces of Uranus and the selfish, rich orthodoxes led by Saturn, the lingering people's rights, all these things. Uranus will gain the influence and strength in humanity and will move towards greater freedom, human care, gender equality, personal liberty, an economic system that is focused on freedom from wantonness and envy, and the wisdom of the stars will prevail. We will shift into the proper shift and a proper set of stars and the proper atmosphere. It will move into the earth, and we will do it through science and education and love and spirituality and all of these things combined into one. Saturn is ruthless, but it's not near as ruthless as Uranus is with inventive, loving, smart, empathetic ideas. Saturn won't prevail. They could push a lot of terrible things out for the next 200 years. The better side of Uranus exerts a power that liberates humanity. Uranus separates the chains, begins to take the chains off of us, begins to do all these things. For whatever suffering it takes to educate the people, through spirituality, through fact-based love and understanding, the Aquarian age will eliminate special privileged groups and devise a world organization built on a more loving humanitarian life. When will that be, Brother Parnell? Well, I'll just be real honest. You and I probably aren't going to see it. But we're going to be as much a part of it as they will out in the future. We're going to believe right here and now that we can form the framework for those things and move us towards it. And then as we break through these veils and we go into where we're going to be at 100 years from now or 200 years from now, we know without a shadow of a doubt we will be helping them the same way that they from the past are helping us now. So we will prevail. Saturn stands for what is bound in the temporal. Saturn is the limitations imposed on you despite the possibility of deeper spiritual truths and limitless places that we can go through Aquarius. Saturn will hold right there. We are in fact gods. We are gods of the earth. Uranus. That's what Uranus is. And we are gods of the earth. Saturn holds itself despite of the possibilities that could happen. We are in fact gods in Uranus. We are mortal at the same time, and live in actual relationships and communities in shelters made of matter, these bodies and everything. Everything is labor, everything is sweat, everything is effort, and we're going through it, and we are gods that are able to overcome these things, and we will overcome these things. But we will die like men. And that's what the prophets taught us. We eat food grown through great strain on both the earth and man. Each of us, through gods, though gods, will die like men. And before we do, we will probably have our hearts broken a few times by losing those that we love to the inevitable arena of time and all that's around us. We're essentially limited creatures, and Saturn's work brings that out in us. It happens to us as we go by. The planet Saturn finds its mythological roots in the figure of Kronos, and I'm going to close here. If you haven't studied the whole Greek mythology, you say, well, that's just the zodiac. That's just no. The spirit, you, us as a spirit, we created all those things, and we move about in them. And planet Saturn has its mythological roots in the figure of Kronos. You know who the Kronos is? If you study Kronos, go back. He's the father of Zeus. And Kronos devoured each of his children so they could not supplant his power. He ate his own children so they couldn't come to power, and he could keep his power. That's Kronos. That's Saturn. That's where we've entered. And watch as they eat their children, left and right. Slaughtering one another. We'll take them down in a minute. In the social media, right on down the line. Destroying, slaughtering one another. Kronos is here. Kronos is also the root of chronology. You know what chronology is? That's like the seed line. Kronos is the root of chronology. The book of Chronicles. The type of time wherein one thing flows after another in a casual sequence. Adam had Seth, and Seth had this, and this one had this, and this one had this, and Noah had Ham and Shem and Japheth, and Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob, and chronology. And Saturn holds within it the god Kronos, which tries to hold things through its power, eating its own children and everything else, tries to hold things in a linear thinking. Your religion, everything about you that you've ever believed has been in a linear thinking. You think to yourself, I can't wait to get through this, so when my body goes to the grave, then the next thing will be that I will get up out of the grave. And chronology says when I get up out of the grave, I will have a body change. And chronology says that the next thing in chronology is that I will have a rapture. And then when I have a rapture, I will go to the wedding supper. And then when I'm done with the wedding supper, chronology takes me back to the earth for a millennium. And chronology takes me up to the white throne judgment. And chronology takes me right on into the new earth. Everything is linear. Saturn wants to hold you to that. And Uranus, the real Aquarian spirit, says it's all a cycle, it's all a sequence. It happens to you hundreds of times, maybe in a year. It happens to all of us every day of our lives. We move through these cycles, these events and everything, and they're continually, and they're spontaneous, and they are parallel one another all the time, always happening. But Saturn keeps you thinking in time. Chrono wants you to think in time. Chrono wants you to think in chronology. They want you to think that you only have so long and you die. They want you to think all these things. Saturn is called the Lord of Time. Governs structural changes in ourselves and society that takes years for us to work out of us, because Saturn works in the whole concept of time, and Uranus works in the concept of eternity. And now we are overcoming that linear chronology of time and bringing our ancestry to the present. We're bringing all that to the present. We're bringing everything from the future to the present. We're bringing everything to the moment. That's our message, moment by moment. We're defeating chronology. We're defeating time. We're defeating DNA. We're defeating everything, and we're bringing it to the present, the ancestry, bringing our past and our future to the present, into the moment, stepping outside of Saturn, the Lord of Time, and moving into Uranus, the God of eternity, the unknown one, the Pegasus. It's a great day. Let me tell you, these next few years of our lives, keep your head looking straight forward, paying attention to everything that's yours. All of these things that we have brought about are yours. And for whatever reason, the energies of the universe, the energies of the spirit and the power, seems like it's reached up and hit the pause button. For whatever reason, I don't know. And for however long, I don't know. It may not be very long at all. There may be enough power in Aquarius. There may be enough understanding in Aquarius. We may have superseded enough of all these things about Pisces that we'll roll right over the top of it and keep on going. I don't know. But I do know this. It's happening all around us. Mm-hmm. And I am watching the movement. And I don't know which way it's going to go. But there's great power in the understanding of Uranus and Aquarius. And there is great power in the understanding of Saturn and Kronos. They want to hold you in time. And we are breaking out of time. We're breaking out of it. Love bless. Is there anything?
There's one comment from Brother Felix.
We need to consciously project our love, compassion, and empathy to influence the needed environment, to awaken people to their true self. They are Christ walking and talking today. Yes. Alan Stuckless, we have overcome these things. The Great Spirit in us, absolutely. Now, it's our place to break down the walls and bring all those through. We have arrived.
He put another comment. Alan L. Stockless. We just progress moment by moment. Nothing ending, just progressing.
Yes. Such a great day. You need to know these things. I'm not afraid of it. Not in the least. It doesn't mean to me, one way or another, whichever way the path goes, I know where the path is going to lead. We are going to become a greater humanity. We are going to become a greater people. We are going to become a greater earth, and we're going to move into a complete oneness and understanding. It is going to happen. The path, we have an understanding to take it a different path than Saturn. Let's do it. Let's do it.
From the moment I saw you, from the moment I looked into your light, there was something about you I knew, I knew. You were once in a lifetime, a treasure near impossible to find, and I know how blessed I am to have you in my life. I've seen rainbows that could take your breath away, the beauty of the setting sun that ends a perfect day. When it comes to shooting stars, I have seen a few, but I never seen anything beautiful as you. But I've never seen anything as beautiful as you.
Amen. And the authority that we have, let's understand all these things that are going on around us. Let's reach inside where the spotlight is right now. And let's just check ourselves and make sure all that we are expressing is that Uranian, Aquarian, eternal light coming out. That's what matters. Love bless.